Welcome to the Sturbridge Conservation Commission meeting for October 5th, 2021. It is 6 p.m. We are in Veterans Memorial Hall, Sturbridge, Mass. 308 Main Street. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 21, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body would as well as members of the public may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be at the meeting location listed above, which I just gave you, and it is possible that any or all members of the public may attend remotely. With in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting may also be accessed remotely via the town's on-demand video broadcast on cable television on Channel 91, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455, enter 1428# for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website. Okay, quorum check. Mr. Barnacle?
Looks like we're all here.
We're all here.
5 for 5.
Got it? 5 for 5. We will give this to, pass that down one man.
In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body, or resource area, and/or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetland Bylaws and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to opening the first hearing for each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. These items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. If any of the visitors have not legibly signed in yet, please do. Also, if any visitors are recording this meeting, please let us know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just as a reminder or an update, what we'll do for this meeting, we'll announce the hearing, and then we will hear from the applicant, and then we'll hear from Becky, and then we will go around to each and every individual. And the objective being to make it go quickly, okay? Not to keep anybody from saying what they want when they want to say it, just as a pattern. Becky, you anything, can we call it 6:05? We have a public hearing for 5575 Farquhar Road and 61 River Road, continued NOI expansion of the Grand Trunk Trail with roadway improvements, DEP file number 300-1111. All right. Owner applicant, Sturbridge, Mass. Representative Jay Baines, Eastern Federal Land Highway Division. Tommy's here. Okay, Tommy, you're on.
So, good evening, everyone. We did have the file number come in, and I believe we've received the letter from the endangered species folks. So I think everything that was missing at the last part of the hearing is now present for you folks to move on the project.
All right. Becky, you're?
Yep, so just to confirm, right, we did receive DEP file number. They did have a comment about the flood zone, so I did seek some clarification and worked with the engineer, did provide you with that information. It is a Zone A, which is also regulatory. So we did include, and I included in the notes for you, what the temporary impacts were, and they do have the compensatory flood storage provided for the additional permanent impacts there too. So that does meet the permitting standards for bordering land subject to flooding. Natural Heritage letter, I did provide that to you as well. And with that, Natural Heritage has 2 reviews. What we're looking at is under their Wetland Protection Act. So they said the project will not result in an adverse impact to the wetland resource area that the species uses with no conditions. So we don't need to include any conditions within the permit for them. They did have some conditions under their Endangered Species Act review, which does require a turtle protection plan and removal of erosion controls, but that's not related to the wetland resource area, so we don't need to include that in there. So we did provide that to you. As I noted before, we do have some riverfront impacts associated with the project. We have provided the alternative analysis for that, and at this time, I would recommend moving forward with voting on the project and approving the project as proposed with the impacts that we had previously talked about. I would recommend our standard orders of conditions, conditions that we have in, and then also conditions for the requirement for the stormwater pollution protection plan prior to the start of work.
Great. Mr. B, you're the Trails guy, what do you say?
I'd like to move to close the public hearing.
All right. Well, can we go around the room first and then?
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to go around the room, just let everybody say nothing, and then you can close the public hearing. Stephen?
I'm all set. This is a good project.
All set.
And I am all set. Dave, you had something to say?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we close the public hearing.
Do we need to go to the phone?
Oh, yep.
Good point.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Or is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Is there anyone on the public line who would like to speak in regards to the notice of intent for the 5575 Farquhar Road and 61 River Road project? Oh, that's myself. You know, there's no one on the line. The last meeting I could hear someone on there, but I think it was
That's pretty scary.
after I was speaking.
That's pretty scary if you go, Becky, if you call out to ask for people and you call in.
I'll second the motion to close the public hearing.
That, any discussion? All in favor? All right. And would you like to make a motion, David?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve of the 5575 Farquhar Road with the magic number of 300-1111 with the notes that have been previously described by the agent.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone?
Becky, who's gonna do the SWIP?
That'll come down to when we have the contractor lined up
Right, yep,
at that point in time. So
Tell me, is the contractor gonna do the SWIP?
yeah.
That's what-
And he has a certified engineer on staff to do this?
We don't know who the contractor is going to be because we need to go out to bid.
Got it. Make sure that that's part of what he's looking for?
Yeah, if not the contractor, the town will be hiring a engineer to oversee the project.
Oh, okay,
Because
so
we'll
we
be
get the
fully.
SWIP either way.
Right, we'll be able to take, have the engineer cover that responsibility.
That's fine.
Okay. Stephen, anything? Roy? Eric? Becky, the only thing I wanted to just, you had said, I just want to make sure we have the turtle protection plan in place for the construction.
we will, but we don't put that in our permit.
We don't put it in our plan.
Okay, we don't.
Nope, so the Endangered Species Act looks at it they regulate take, and that's the harming or killing of an individual, loss of habitat, or the disruption of a behavior. But when they comment to us under the Wetlands Protection Act, it's only for, will the project have an impact on the wetland that the species uses? So the turtle protection plan is to protect the individual, they do that.
So we don't have to make sure they have people out in front of them, the tractors going through?
I'll be part of that with Tom at that time and make sure it happens.
Okay.
And it is the applicant's responsibility to coordinate with the Endangered Species Program, separate from the commission, to do that stuff.
We have this fancy vest with bright stripes on it, and Tom's going to stand out there with it.
I know, Erin and I can go do it for a month, that'll be. Me
All
kind of.
right. Moving along.
You need a vote, gentlemen.
Yep, waiting, all in favor? Great.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna.
Do something.
Now we are at the Westwood Drive.
We got
Yeah, we
5
have a few
minutes.
minutes
Beck,
here.
what are we going to do?
We don't give enough time, we give too much, you never know. So we have a couple other things on here, we can jump ahead. So number 6 is a request for certificate of compliance for 4 Preserve Way. This is one of the lots within the Preserve subdivision that was encompassed with the whole orders of conditions. This lot actually isn't within jurisdiction, I did go by it regardless, it does conform with the plans. So I recommend issuance of a partial certificate of compliance specifically for this address.
Okay. Any discussion? Motion, Eric?
Well, I move that we issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 300-471 at Fort Preserve.
All right,
And that's a partial, right?
Partial.
partial.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Any discussion?
I'll second it.
Yep. No discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Becky? Number 6 is done.
Thank you. So number 7, 18 Tantascwa Shore Drive, formerly known as 18 Shore Drive. That was a fun one to figure out. Request for certificate of compliance, DEP file number 300-99. Yep, so that's 1,000 projects ago, pretty much. Yeah. So this one was, I went out to the site visit. We were able to locate the file. It was a house addition in 1986, and some landscaping work as well. You know, I went out, site is in compliance with the plans that were submitted at that time. I don't have any concerns. Recommend issuance of a complete certificate of compliance.
All right. Any discussion? Motion?
Motion to approve the certificate of compliance for DEP file number 300-99 for 18 Tantascwa Shore Drive.
Second?
All right. Having no discussion, all in favor? All right, Beck.
All right, do you want to do number 8, minutes?
Yep.
So it's minutes for the September 21st, 2021 meeting.
All right. Do we have any comments? Have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the minutes of September 21st as written.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Minutes are approved.
Thank you.
6:13 by my watch.
What would you like to do, Ed? We have a few more minutes.
We've got a few more minutes. We want to go to
That's six-
committee updates.
Sure.
6:14.
All right. I
We
can
got a minute.
start off with CPA. We did have a CPA meeting, and there were 2 things that were on the ball field at Cedar Street, which we approved of $1 million toward that project with CPA funds to be voted on at town meeting. And we approved of $92,000 for the project, for the trails extension of the Grand Trunk that we just talked about. So those were the 2, from the Ed Calcutt Bridge to River Road. That's it. That's all we did. The Ed Calcutt Bridge to River Road was kind of, it was a catch-22. We had to have somebody on site, which is what the 92,000 is, in order to get the money for the $250,000.
Okay, that's what,
Yeah, so that's,
have the engineer on site.
Yeah. so that's a part of what they came back with, so. And the ball field was, they were looking for 5.8, and we decided to give them 1 million rather than nothing. So that was the decision of the committee. And that's it. David?
Well,
The
6:15
Trails
now.
Committee doesn't meet until,
What?
6:15 now, do you want to move forward with the public hearing? And go back to
Well-
committee dates?
Sure, that's okay.
Is that okay?
All right, yeah.
Because we're going to have a gap again anyway, so we can
All right.
fill it in.
We are at 108 Westwood Drive. Continued notice of intent landscape. DP file number 300-1100, or 09, sorry. All right, Lenny, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Oh, thanks, all right. So I don't know if you, I'll pull it up on the screen, but if anyone wants to look at, we did get a revised plan in this afternoon based off the site visit. that we had.
Is the revised plan on the screen?
I'm gonna pull it up on the screen too.
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
anyone wants a copy to look at.
This, this monitor isn't working. David probably will.
No, just that's the idea. You need,
Yeah.
that one's not on? Okay. I mean, I'll pull it up on the screen too, but it's just, you know, it might be easier for you to look at it that way.
I can look up at the main screen.
They don't have it on. Here. I'll give you the paper.
Oh, great.
Lenny, do you have anything to say?
Okay, yes. I'd like to say I apologize for the lateness of returning, and I just got back from Maine and then found out it wasn't returned, so I had them draw it up with the revisions on it tonight. So in the event that the plan is approved, I'd like to have it plan number 20092 under revision 3. The revision 3 actually is that what we added to the plan itself was some shrubs and bushes that were going on to the property. Up on the adjacent side near the sidewalk, we were going to put in 2 sweet pepper bushes, which will be on that side. And then on the lower lake side, what we'd like to do is put in 2 common spice bush, which are located immediately adjacent to the water itself. The other thing that erroneously we had on the plan under revision 2, that the 2 trees were going to be removed, the pine trees, and what we wanted to do is to change that figure now to 3 pines, which was also an additional 5-inch, which because of the excavation and the root system destruction, to have that tree removed along with the other 2. If there's any questions, I'm happy to help you.
Becky?
All right, so we had a productive site visit last week with property owner, engineer, contractor. A few of us were able to be out there. And right, Lenny submitted a revised plan, kind of reflecting some of the discussion out there. As I've kind of stated before, I didn't anticipate any concerns with the upland wall work, and that, I think that would help with the erosion that they're seeing out there. It was more kind of raising some concerns with what would be required under the state regs with the bank impacts and some bordering land subject to flooding. He did clarify the question about bordering land subject to flooding. There's going to be no net fill added to that area. They'll actually be excavating material out of that area, so it won't be impacting the area's ability to flood. And then we looked at the bank a little bit more and kind of talked about that. He's revised the plan to include some shrubs over there to provide some wildlife habitat. And the kind of concern was if the bank was significant for wildlife, considering the use of the property as a developed single-family house for many decades. I don't see that it's a high significance for wildlife habitat in that area. Therefore, you can consider the proposal for the armoring of the shoreline there with the varied boulders that they're proposing here, so. So with that, the revised plan does reflect everything that we talked about there, the 3 pines to be removed. He does have the 2 trees, the additional shrubs out there. There are a lot of trees on the site, which makes it difficult to add more canopy out there, I think. I think the addition of that maple in that area will grow up and fill that area, as well as some of the other trees in that area as well. So at this time, I mean, I would recommend that you can move forward with the project and approve it. And with that, if you did, I would recommend our standard orders of conditions, also because there is shoreline work that is done in dry conditions, and that's typically done during lake drawdown, or additional BMPs would have to be in place to protect resource area. One of my things I had noted in here was the additional plantings, which he does show on the plans. And then the toe of the boulders and the stairs must end at the existing toe of the slope. And, right, the wall will have to conform to the existing conditions out there. The as-built plan should be submitted to demonstrate that there's no net fill, and as-built elevations to document compliance. Another condition, standard condition, required to receive all other permitting that might be required, and DEP did comment that Chapter 91 may be required. It is the property owner's obligation to, check with them on that too. So,
Okay.
that's all.
David, any comments?
I have neither comments nor questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Stephen?
Just a comment, thank you for listening to us and addressing our concerns. I appreciate that.
Roy, any?
I echo Stevens, yeah, it's good.
Eric?
Good.
I have one comment, Lenny. Why would you send us such a nice, clear plan like this when some of the stuff you send us is so we can't read it?
Just checking to see whether you read it or not.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Public,
Comment?
Oh, public, yeah. Keep saying that.
Is there anyone on the line who would like to speak in regards to the notice of intent for 106 Westwood Drive?
Oh, Becky?
I was going to say, I didn't want to speak to this.
I'm getting scared.
I am too.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion to accept the plan?
Yeah, I'll move to accept the plan with all of the caveats that were put on the notes by the agent.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I do have one question now that it's been seconded.
All right. Discussion.
I'm really curious about, at least twice now, we've talked about the Tove slope and the proof that it's not impeding into the water, that it's not doing something more than, that it's not filling, for example. Who is going to be the qualified agent that is going to be able to make certain that during the construction, that doesn't happen? We can't be put in the position where we're actually filling a body of water. And if we're not watching out for that Tove slope, that's what we'll be doing. So we need to have some sort of oversight, Lenny. How is that going to be handled?
Normally, it's done through the engineer who submitted the plan, that once the plan is done and everything is stabilized, we'd be submitting a certificate of compliance under Form 8A and stating that everything is as stated. If there's any changes, we would be submitting it to the board to vote on the Form 8B. 8B would reflect any changes that take place other than what is shown. And you have the option at that time to accept or deny what has been done.
But do we need to have someone on site at the time of the establishment of this to make certain that there has not been any migration into the water?
Most engineers who do these plans, including us, all the stuff that is done on this plan here, should I use the trite term stuff, but all the work that's done on this plan is digitized within our computer. Okay, we go back and do the as-built for this thing. Everything that's digitized prior to and now would be reflected on one plan. And there's no one can cheat from that.
No, I understand that, but the problem with that answer is that sometimes we have 8, 10, 12 years before the person comes back looking for their final documentation. And that could be 8, 10 to 12 years of having more material in the lake than was planned on having in the lake.
I agree, that's to his demise. The fact of the matter is that the original plan and the final plan are reflected from the exact same positions relative to the original plan. Because we have the control on the computer. We can check out, I can tell you if it's off 1/100th of a foot.
So Dave, are you suggesting that maybe there's some way that the engineer or somebody could be staking it before the work is done, or providing oversight for at least that part somehow?
Yes. And I don't know how. But what I'm suggesting is that we don't want to be open to the possibility of a mistake being made and not caught.
Wasn't that what the point of the certificate of compliance is in the as-built plan, to verify that it hasn't? I mean, we could put monitors on every single site on everything that we go over, but I think, A, it would be an encumbrance upon the applicants from a cost standpoint, and B, I don't think it's necessary given the process. I mean, I say that knowing we just approved a certificate of compliance. But,
Yeah.
you know, I understand what your point is. I just don't know that's a very slippery slope, because that's a situation where we will be incurring costs on every single applicant, on every single project in a situation like that.
What I was hoping was Lenny could come up with a way of getting it done without having any extra costs on the applicant, because that's not the purpose of this body. We're here to protect the resource areas, and obviously a lake is one of the larger ones that we have to protect.
I have an idea. I mean, it would be useful to have before and after pictures, which can be done by the contractor during drawdown. So not now, but when it's drawn down, have that before and after pictures. I think that'd be helpful. We do have the contractor certificate of compliance that we require, that they've read the permit, they understand the conditions. I go over that with them when they start work. I mean, I don't have the trained eye to be able to go and say, oh, that's 1/100th off or anything like that, but it is on them. But maybe having the submission of those before and after photos would be helpful too.
I realize this is not a unique situation, but what actually took place relative to this particular project, okay, is that the board required a second site visit to the project. At that time, the installing contractor was present for the second inspection. He brought down an instrument to show the elevations and everything, went through the board and delineated what exactly he was going to do throughout the whole process. So I think everyone, the people that were present are cognizant of the procedure that's going to take place on this, and the contractor is, and I think everyone is under the same platform. I'm not saying this is typical, but...
Lenny, in the building process,
What?
how does he operate in the building process? Does he pull back first and then put the stones in as a line?
Correct, one step at a time, yes.
One stone at a time?
Correct, right, right.
We could just require that they put stakes every 5 feet or something prior to beginning.
You could stake the line prior to construction.
Yeah, that would
And,
be, yeah. That'd be feasible. If I was doing it, I'd probably stake the line prior to construction so I knew where I was.
We would also, but
Yeah.
the thing is, we could stake it, have it staked.
Yeah.
Can we get a combination of the staking and a photograph?
Photographs
Yeah.
with the staking?
That just seems,
Sounds good.
You want that in my road conditions?
Yes.
and maybe we consider adding that to the conditions for future projects.
I think it's good to do that.
think so, too.
I'm actually thinking more of future, because I like this contractor, and I think this contract is gonna,
No, but I think that would take care of the problem that I brought up. Because if you have the stake and the picture, then you know that everything is absolutely kosher, it's exactly the way that it should be,
Right.
and then you praise the contractor for doing it.
yep. All right. Got agreement, any
So do you
other
want-
discussion?
Do we need to make a substitute motion with the new language?
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We can't do anything, we've closed the public hearing.
Yeah, we gotta close the public hearing and then do that,
Okay.
all right? Is there anybody in the audience, Becky, besides you, that wants?
We already did that.
What?
We already did that before we.
Okay, we did, okay, all right,
We're just waiting for the vote.
yeah. All right, so, motion to close the public hearing?
Already done.
Already
We've done that.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the project.
Okay, now we're at the motion on the floor.
All in favor?
And-
All in favor?
Yeah.
Good.
And so you have it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You want to save this for posterity?
All right, we are now at 30 Woodlawn. We have a notice of intent for replacement of a failed septic system on DEP file number 300-1110.
So-
David Family Trust. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So we have a written request for continuance to our next meeting, which is October 19th for this project. Just to let you know, just quickly, since the last meeting we had, I did go back out to the site, did some digging of some test holes out there, provided you with some photographs, some big concerns with the information that we were provided with. So
Okay.
to go back one, so that we asked them to have a professional wetland scientist go out there and look at the flagging. They did hire Scott Morrison of Ecotech to go out there. He did revise one flag a few feet. So I went back out there, dug some test holes in different areas in the site. Did find hydric soil, evidence of hydrology, so I did report that back to the engineer. And I will be going out there on Thursday to meet the engineer and the soil scientist to kind of go over the wetland line. So they're asking for a continuance to our next meeting.
Okay. All in favor of that? I would comment, Becky, on that, that what I said to you on the phone today, I want a site visit when
Yeah.
those flags are in
Okay.
for the Conservation
Yep.
Commission.
Yep. And then later we'll go over, I have the list for the site visits before the next meeting. I was gonna
Yeah.
add that on there and we can talk about that, so.
All right, now we are,
We're 2 minutes ahead.
yeah,
You got a trails update in 2 minutes?
Trails update.
Unfortunately, the Trails update will take more than 2 minutes.
Go for it.
No, the Trails meeting is next week, so we won't have a Trails update meeting. They did have a full day of activity from 6:30 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, Sunday before last, and they are in part taking place with one of the activities on the 31st of this month, which is a 5K race that is being sponsored by the Rotary Club. And at a later time tonight, when you have time, we need to talk about that. I sent the application in tonight to Becky.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, I handed it to you
Oh,
guys.
thank you, perfect, I was gonna ask.
And when that comes up, we need to spend some time on it, because once again, the trails are part of this Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission is care, custody, and control of all of the trails, with the exception of the riverlands. And we have to pay attention to some of these things that are taking place. And we'll go on with this one afterwards. And by the way, unlike the Common, our porta potty was taken away after the event.
Just out of curiosity, how did the event go on Sunday? Saturday. How did the event go last weekend?
I wish we hadn't asked.
Oh,
There were only 9 people that showed up over the course of that entire period of time.
that's
Opecum, at the same time, had a gigantic bicycle event,
Oh, yeah.
which was extremely well-attended, and it didn't click. So we'll try something different next year. but no thanks to asking.
I was out of town, so.
All right. We're now at the time where we can go to 30 Main Street. Lot number 3, abbreviated ANRAD. File number 300, we don't have a file number, huh?
No.
No? All right. And we have no applicant in? Do we have
It's on the line.
You're on the
online?
line here, yep.
Yep.
So this was a continuation for the ANRAD. You requested additional information in the form of a peer review. I did seek out 3 proposals from different firms. I did get 2 back, which I provided to you. And with my notes, both are qualified firms that have done work for us. One has been on this property before and has done work. They did indicate that they've worked privately for this applicant before, but did not see that as a conflict, but they did want to disclose that. I think that either applicant would be qualified, and you could choose them for this.
You have a recommendation?
I'd be happy with either one.
Eric, go
I
ahead.
just had a comment. I appreciate the fact that the respondent declared a possible conflict, and he self-reported that there wasn't going to be a conflict, but I think it's in our best interest as long as we feel like the other respondent is responsible and at a reasonable cost that we go in that direction, so there's no sniff of a conflict. So that was the only comment I wanted to make.
Okay.
I totally agree with that position.
All right, well, we've got 2. Stephen?
I agree.
Ray? It's a moot point. We go with them. All right?
Got a vote?
Can I get a motion?
All in favor?
I'll make a
Was that a
motion
motion?
that we go with the bid or RFP response provided by Oxbow Associates for the peer review for Lot 3, 30 Main Street.
I will second that motion.
And no discussion, all in favor?
Do we do the public first?
No,
Not
not
for
for
this.
No,
No.
Yeah.
sorry, it isn't a
Yeah,
public hearing.
yeah. All in favor? Good. All right.
So,
It is a public hearing.
It is a
yes,
public
it is a
hearing.
public hearing. We need to continue it. We do have Justin on the line here. Justin, you're on mute. I'm just going to recommend that we don't continue this to the next meeting to provide the ample time to do the proper paperwork that we need to do and have them have the opportunity to go out to the site. It will not be ready for the next meeting, and I don't know that it would actually be ready for the one in a month, but I
What do you
would
want to
recommend-
continue to the next meeting?
Huh?
This decision?
No, so at this point, we would, what would happen is we would submit the applicant
Okay,
the
yeah, all right.
proposal,
Yep.
get the funds in,
Right.
and start processing the required paperwork we need to do with the contract with the TA's office and all of that good stuff. It does take a little bit of time, and they'll need to get out on the site. So, won't be ready, there'll be nothing to report back to you at the next meeting. There might not even be anything within a month, but I would recommend just continuing it to the month at this time.
All right.
So that would be November 2nd. And Justin, you're on mute on here. If you just want to unmute, just want to check to make sure, since we're continuing that more than 21 days, you're okay with that.
I don't have November 2nd on here.
No, that's
No,
next
that's
year.
next year.
2022.
What?
That's 2022 schedule.
2021, it says 2021.
Oh, then that's error. It's supposed to say 2022.
And what does it say on yours for 2021?
It says 21, but I know that these are supposed to be.
Just checking to see if you're paying attention. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
it was a test. You passed.
All right, well, he's on.
Roy, help me out here, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm looking at the math flow.
All right,
Don't become.
so we have a meeting on November 2nd, right?
Did the
It's on my
applicant,
second meeting, yeah.
That's really the only thing we want to,
Becky, did the applicant respond? I didn't hear.
No, he's on here, but it's on mute. I don't know if it's, I'm not thinking
Yeah,
it's
bring
on
him
our
up.
end, but,
okay, we're backing off to the non-vote status and starting over on that, all right? Just,
no, it's not on our end.
There he goes.
Continue to,
There he goes.
Rebecca, if you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Loud and
oh,
clear.
we can hear you
I
now.
can hear you, loud and clear.
Why, yeah, I don't know why you can't hear us on there.
You can't hear us?
That's what he said.
Yeah, well, it's a stupid
that's-
question then, isn't it?
You're supposed to be not muted.
We could write on
Oh,
the back of this.
Justin? Why not?
yeah, shut that off. Can you hear us now?
I can, yes.
All right,
all
I
right.
don't know why.
I picked up some of it. I was actually watching it on my phone too. So that's how I could hear you saying I was on mute.
Okay, sorry, it was, set up on go-to muting the room, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, so, they voted on a peer reviewer, so we have, I have to get the proposal to you, funds are received, I have some paperwork here to do with the town to get that started, which is gonna
Okay.
take a little time, so instead of continuing this to the next meeting, which is October 19th, I'd recommend we continue it to November 2nd. I don't know that, we'll have a report back at that time, but I think that would give us a good idea of where things kind of stand. Hopefully, they'll be able to get out there and start at that point. Is it acceptable to you to continue to November 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Just ask one question.
Go ahead.
Do we need to have that report 7 days ahead of time? And if so, is that reasonable that it's gonna all go out in 3 weeks?
Probably not. So,
Do,
yes, I would want you to have the report, at
Oh,
least a
we
week
can.
in advance, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
We
we-
could do, would we be better off suggesting the 16th of November?
Probably.
Yep.
Is that okay with you, Justin?
I missed that.
If we could wait, postpone the hearing to November 16th, and what Eric said was because we do require that we have things 7 days in advance to review, especially something like this. Expecting to have all of that back within 3 weeks isn't gonna happen.
Is the 16th correct and 17th wrong?
That's for next year.
November 16th is,
This says 2021 on.
No,
okay. So November 16th would be the meeting, is that okay, Justin?
Okay, I'm just.
Yes.
Okay,
I know what I'm asking.
I know.
Redundant, but I am just making sure we have the
I
right
know,
date.
yeah. All right, so, we should ask, I don't think there's anyone on the line, but we should ask before you
Yeah, go-
move forward to continue. Is there anyone on the line who would like to speak in regards to the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Lot 330 Main Street? There's nobody on the line.
Good. All right, so we will revote this to,
Well, now you can do a
Continue it.
motion to continue.
yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to
Motion to
continue.
continue to the meeting on November 6th.
Second.
All right, discussion. All in favor? All right, Beck. I know they brought these dates in here to try and slow me down, but we're gonna get out of here by 8.
I was.
Don't look at those.
Test.
Those are for later. All right, so. Was expecting a couple more people. I didn't hear from Brock, but I was assuming that Brock, the property owner, was coming for the 194, 196 Lake Road discussion.
All right, we'll leave it till last
We
then.
are pretty quick on our time here, so I would
Let's leave
maybe-
number 5 till last.
Yeah, let's just wait a little bit.
All right?
And then also, I am expecting people for the discussion for the project modification for 6 Picker Road.
We could have the Lakes Association review.
There's nothing to report. Their next meeting is, I believe, the 21st, which I plan on attending.
I would like to ask a favor of you when you go to the next meeting.
Sure.
Based on those 3 papers that I sent you,
Yeah.
one of them piqued my interest. Would you ask the Lakes Association if they would ask their membership if any freshwater mussels have been found in any of our lakes?
Sure.
It would be another indication as to the clarity, purity, et cetera, of the waters.
Well, I do know at the, not their most recent meeting, but the meeting before, there was a number of them that were complaining about the clarity of the lake. So my suspicion is that that's probably going to be a negative, but I will ask for clarification.
And one of the things we ought to do then, if they're complaining about the clarity, is we should check what the results of the recent testing that was done in August was regarding the SecuDis test, because they took a SecuDis test in 2 places on each one of the lakes.
That's what they were talking about. So would you like me to get the results of that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't sent
SecuDis,
that to-
would they provide that to you normally? or-
Yeah, they usually do. We got the lab results, and then after they get that, they compile all the results of all the tests, and I haven't
But
received,
they haven't put that together yet.
not that I'm aware of, at least, yeah, yeah.
SECCHI.
SEC, thank you, because I was just gonna email that to myself, and I'm like, what is SECCHI?
No H, I'm sorry.
SECC,
CC.
SECCI, Secchi test. Okay, yeah, absolutely, be happy to.
All right. Where to, Beck? Here.
What's 9? Oh, reorganization of the board.
What?
Reorganization
Okay,
of the board.
let's do that.
Fiscal year 22.
That's
And we
good.
should remind Ed that this would be for the 2022 season, not 2021.
Fiscal year 2022, which we're in, not to confuse you anymore.
You just can't believe what you read these days.
So just before you start, just to make you aware, so the official board nominations for SLAC and for CPC, those are still valid until next year,
Okay.
okay? Those both expire end of June 2022, I looked that up. And then afterwards too,
That must be a relief, huh, Eric?
Wouldn't want to miss out on those meetings.
and then just, we have our liaison positions, we have trails, and then we have forestry, which Halterman was doing,
Okay.
think about afterwards. All right?
All right. Well, let's start out with chair, right at the top, right?
Yep.
Nominations?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Ed Goodwin, despite his disapproving of being the chair for another term.
I second.
Disapproving, is that not something
I
you're?
don't know, what we have,
Just in
Stephen,
case he
you're not
does.
interested?
Not at this time. I'm just,
Okay, you know,
because of my work commitments, it's really tough. I
All
can't
right.
always make site visits. And
all right.
All right.
Do we have a,
Do I have a, we don't do a second, just,
Discussion?
anybody else?
All in,
Me.
By unanimous acclaim, we appoint Ed Goodwin as the chair for next year.
All in favor? It's kind of the same way.
congratulations.
Yeah. I was treasurer of my senior class in college, and the reason was just about the same thing.
And since we know that he also will be kicking and screaming, I would like to make a nomination for Stephen Chichester to be the vice chair.
I'll second that motion.
Anybody else?
Hearing no other persons listing their name, I'd like to move the vote, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Stephen? You're not voting?
I have to, can I abstain?
That's a rule.
Let the record show one embarrassed.
All right, what else do we have? We have forestry.
oh, yes.
Roy, you want to get involved in forestry?
Sure.
I think that would be, I mean, you know, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Roy to replace Steve Halterman. All right. Anybody else? David?
All in favor?
All in favor? All right, so,
the official title of that is forestry liaison?
You're a forest cutting plan liaison.
yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you
very much.
Welcome aboard, Roy.
It involves a little bit more site visits.
all right.
Yeah.
If we have plans, when,
Okay, we got reorganization of the board.
trails?
Said trails.
Oh, we did that, sorry.
We did trails, yeah.
Yep.
So we are let's go to Picker Road,
You're up.
right now.
Fine, gentlemen. You were
I
up.
told you we were gonna be
We've
early.
been waiting here for
Is
you.
it
You're
your
late.
birthday today, Glenn?
We were number 10, and then you said come in at 7 because you're taking people early.
I know.
Where's Andy Baum? No.
Well, we can wait if you want, yeah, if
Do you
you're
have anything
waiting.
else? We need our Mr. Engineer who's giving you all the details.
Okay.
All right, we can wait. if-
I
We can
appreciate
still,
it.
we can
That's
still
fine.
talk about
Oh,
this.
yes,
We have stuff to talk about, so it's okay.
Thank
It's
you.
okay. We're trying to do you a favor, get you out of here earlier now.
Mr. Chairman, control the meeting, please.
I know,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Do we want to do
Speak when spoken to,
Robert's Rules of Order.
just,
Well,
we're a little punchy tonight.
the meeting schedule, want to do that?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you want me to talk about it. If everyone would pay
Nope.
attention to the one with the highlighted yellow, that actually does say 2022. There are two meeting schedules here that I provided for you for not fiscal year, calendar year 2022. If you notice, one of them is for Tuesday meeting night, which would be what we're doing currently. There are some yellow highlighted dates, which are the dates in which there's a holiday on a Monday, which the Board of Selectmen would be utilizing this date for their meeting, and therefore, we would probably not be able to have a meeting.
Well, I want to get back over into the,
We
But
will.
As
The
long
other
as
side.
as long as we would be offering this remote go-to-meeting option, we would have to be only having one meeting per evening. So if Board of Selectmen is having their meeting, we would not be able to have our meeting.
I have nothing with
You're
you.
gonna
guess we-
big time us again then.
what?
We're gonna big time us again then. Only you do something.
Things could be different though, I guess, as the year has progressed.
Yeah, so, and that's every 2 weeks. So,
Well, the first and third Tuesday, however that falls.
yeah, so Roy, that's what we've typically done, is meet every 2 weeks, unless in the summer, sometimes go down to a summer schedule, or it's one meeting a month. This past year, we had meetings that, like Erin was saying, that because we're utilizing GoToMeeting to provide the, remote option, also too, and I know they only broadcast one recording a night, and Board of Selectmen and Conservation both get broadcasted, so I don't know if that would be different moving forward or not, but that could be a concern, having overlapping meetings.
So-
Yeah.
So the yellow, we don't have the room?
Yellow would be nights that we potentially could not have a meeting because the Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen.
what I'd like to do then is, I don't want a meeting on January 18th. I don't want one on April 19th. I don't want one on June 21st, and I don't want one on Tuesday, September 6th.
Okay.
Well,
So,
hang on. This is
But that's-
the schedule for next year,
Right.
yes, there's
And
two
we-
options presented.
and we probably will be meeting across the street.
Yeah,
That's what yeah, when we can go, when we do that, we can go back to another schedule.
But I think this is the conflict more to do
The
with
conflict
the
is,
IT and
there's
the broadcast.
the,
of the
the
meeting.
IT
So it doesn't
version.
matter what room we're in.
yeah.
There's only one socket for the public to watch the meeting. Is that accurate?
Correct. And currently, there's only one go-to-meeting available at us. Available. So if the Board of Selectmen is meeting and utilizing go-to-meeting, we cannot be utilizing go-to-meeting at the same moment. Maybe things will be different as the year is progressing here, but I just wanted to provide this
Yeah.
as soon as, so you gentlemen can get your schedules and know ahead of time what the expectation, what nights we'd be meeting.
Well, let me say it a different way then. Tuesday, January 18th, we don't have a meeting, and we leave the rest of the schedule stat.
There's another option for Tuesday.
Go ahead.
So, I think the reason why we have both of these and the confusing one on 2021 is one of the things that Becky has been encouraging us to look at is moving to an every 3-week schedule. So to give more time for the applicants to respond to continuances.
Yeah.
The net result of this schedule, if we pulled the yellow ones off the docket and went to it, that's 17 meetings. This every 3 would put us at 18, so it's basically the same commitment either way, but I think it would be, her point has been all year, it's easy, it seems like it would be easier for the workflow if we went to an every 3, but the only way to accomplish that would be to move our meetings to Thursday night instead of Tuesday night, which I know that we have some complications there.
Yeah, and so that conflict still exists tentatively, but it's not should not be an issue this next year, so. I'm willing to move it to Thursday if that works for the other board members.
I was also planning on taking this schedule, updating the year proper, and then providing you with a updated site visit schedule and entire schedule, so the commitments that you would be, agreeing to would be, you would have a schedule for the whole year.
Yeah.
Like when the site visit would be versus
Yes, a meeting date, site visit
site
date.
visit dates.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
How's your schedule, Roy?
Thursdays work.
What?
Thursdays work.
Thursdays work? What
Yep.
about Tuesdays?
Thursdays would be better.
Thursdays would be better? I don't give a damn. Either one is fine with me. I do like to keep it in a single day of the week,
Okay,
because
it's easier to remember.
we're in a pattern now,
Yep.
which, we go on site visits, the alternate, and that works for me. So,
So would you like to move site visit dates?
So I would have a conflict, at least at this point, if I'm doing the same position next year, for my work. I would not be able to do site visits on Thursday mornings. My Thursday morning is completely booked.
Well, Becky and I did discuss leaving the site visit on a Tuesday.
Wait a minute, why couldn't you just keep it on Tuesday mornings?
Well, no, because, Ed had said, the pattern of,
oh, I didn't mean that it had to be,
Had to be, you like
I
it,
just
you
want a
like it that
pattern.
it's just Tuesdays, you
I
know
don't-
you have a
if you
commitment.
did Tuesday site visits and Thursday meeting, I have no problem with
Yeah,
that.
but I would, so, you used to do that, you used to do the Tuesday site visit right in the same week before the meeting. I would still like to try to do it a week before, because I think if there's information that I can provide to them in advance, I
Yeah.
think that's helpful. And, we've seen that some towns actually do it, they have a meeting deadline like 3 weeks in advance.
Right.
Within the next week, they do the site visits, so site visits almost a couple weeks in
It would
advance.
give the applicant that extra time to provide you with.
A revised
A
plan.
revised plan after you visit the site and they hear your comments. Currently, they have not enough time to get.
Right.
Well, I think
days-
I'd like to do that too. Do it Tuesday, and then the following week, do it Thursday. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Sometimes it gets pretty tiring being with these engineers twice in the same week.
All right, so we'll, put together what the
and there's
site
no
visit schedule will
holidays
be.
also on the Thursday schedule, unless we talked about this year, the December, around Christmas time. I don't know, maybe that's a year away, maybe we can revisit around then. If people don't want to be a meeting the week before, between Christmas and New Year, that's the only day.
Right,
See as
so,
a conflict for the Thursday.
right, and this gives only one meeting in
There's only one
July,
meeting in July.
2 in August, 1 in September.
Now, are you giving me a Jedi mind trick where you say December 23, 2021? Is that,
no, she's talking about this Thursday, December 29th.
Yeah.
I would think that we're probably better off pushing that a week and then repatterning in 2023.
Right.
To that first week in January and just starting a new.
Okay.
plan.
Yep.
I don't see a productive meeting
No.
being held the week before Christmas and New Year's.
I agree.
Generally
I agree.
around.
Yeah.
Right, most.
We all
of them
agree with
are, I
that.
find, yeah,
And the other thing is,
good idea.
no July 4th week.
There's no,
Yeah.
Yep,
there's no, yeah.
okay, so.
What else? Anybody have any other dates that there? So you got it, Aaron?
Yep, and if everything's all set, I will send you a updated site visit schedule and proper meeting schedule for
Okay.
next year, for your
Good.
records.
Anything else on that?
Yes.
Great. And we're going to go to Picker Road. Gentlemen, come on up, bring a chair with you. All right, you guys can go first.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Sure.
Andy Baum from Summit Engineering.
Yeah.
We had a site walk last Wednesday, Thursday? Tuesday, to discuss their crossing at Picker Road. The end result was the commission had asked for a little more robust crossing comparison on the inlet side. So I provided that to Becky of the commission. That shows, the latest iteration showed the proposed condition that was on the detail on sheet 23, the existing ground condition, and then the actual condition of the crossing on both the upstream and downstream side. The way I believe we left it in the field was to have the commission take a look at that and see if they agreed that we could ask for an amendment to the approved orders of conditions. Does everyone have that figure?
I did provide that to them.
Yeah.
I actually printed the one that you sent afterwards with the crosshatched area for the openness.
I brought that one. I didn't know if we had the board
Yeah,
up
no,
tonight or.
I printed it small for them, and so they have
Okay.
that.
I can,
I'll hold it.
okay. And I apologize, this is a little, maybe I should have blown it up a little bit. But the upper portion is the inlet side, the lower portion is the outlet side, the discharge side. So we kind of parged down some of the various dimensions and just had a strong comparison. So the black line work is what was on the detail as shown. And then the green line here represents the arch culvert. As it was installed, we went and located the top of the culvert. With that invert, you can see where we picked it up about 6 inches from the design elevation. And then we actually shot or located the crossing. It's a lot flatter than what was anticipated. So there isn't that pronounced V groove in the channel. It's a very, very shallow channel. For the members that went out saw that it's very shallow. And then this blue hatched area is like the openness, the open portion of the arch. So you can see where that was embedded, came up, touched the ground, opened up to about a maximum of 14 inches or 1.2 feet, and then comes back down into a taper. We provided previous drainage calculations showing that can pass the 100-year event, and you can also see that it's greater than 1.2 times the bank width at the inlet side. So I hope this figure met your criteria for what you're asking for from the field site walk. Any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Becky, what was your concern regarding the openness ratio?
I was just asking, I wanted to see how the calculations were derived. So Andy included that crosshatched area on there, and that's where he got the 11.8 square feet,
Yes.
right? And you just
Yep.
took that measurement of that area, because it's usually height times width divided by length.
Right, but that's an odd shape.
It is
Yeah,
an
so-
odd shape, yeah.
When you're using AutoCAD, it's a lot more help. I put the squares there just as a reference, but with AutoCAD, you're able to do the equivalent of I don't know if any of you know, well, you guys are old enough, a planimeter. You never use one of those to do a cross-sectional area. But with AutoCAD, you can be able to do the same thing if you have a dimension drawing, figure an area.
Do you still have a question about the openness ratio?
The only thing that I noted was that in the stream crossing standards, it says to put it in meters. I don't know how that affects the change here or not, but
Okay.
it's 0.25, and that's for the general standards, and that's mostly for perennial streams. So, but I mean, that was kind of what the project was, to meet the standards. So, I mean, I don't know what it comes out to in meters, but
Meters, 1.2.
Mr. Chairman, we're trying to do the job of engineers and trying to understand engineering numbers. We have a conservation fund. Without charging the applicant any further monies, we could ask for an engineer to go out and take a look at just that one issue, the openness ratio, and solve the problem for us. If he agrees with the applicant, superb. If he doesn't, then the applicant and the second engineer work out the differences so that we can approve this thing. And we can pay for it out of our fund. We have a fund specifically to be able to work with wetlands issues, and this would be a way to tap it, and it would not delay you guys very much either, because I'm sure that one of the guys who already has acted as one of the engineers on the site for us can go back and do it in a matter of a couple of days. I'm not looking to delay the process.
Yeah, well, it actually, in order to use that fund you're talking about, it requires going to the Board of Selectmen for a vote, after you vote to use, if you're talking about the Wetland Protection Fund.
Yep.
It would take a little time to enact using that fund. Want to keep that in mind, I guess. I mean, I guess,
Becky?
I was just gonna say, at this point, I think that, I mean, it's not a perennial stream. It is a plan change. They're saying they didn't impact any additional resource area. They've spanned the bank. It would've been nice if the height, and the width was a little bit more on there, based off of what the original plan was. But at this point, without having any additional resource area impacts, the flow is still demonstrated to go through there. I don't know if it's worth going to that point, and maybe thinking that,
Stephen?
I do have, I appreciate you putting this together. This is very helpful. There's just one thing that's missing, though. So you have 11 and a half square feet is the openness of what was built, right? What I'd like to know is what was the amount of square feet for the approved plan? Because it looks like it's less than, it looks like it's twice what.
It would be 18 if you back into that from the previous.
We had discussed it today with the chairman.
Okay.
I believe it was 18.
18 square.
18? All right, so it's
18.8, something around.
So what were the two?
11 and a half and 18,
0.8.
18.8?
So it's a mistake in construction?
It's a mistake in understanding the actual grade of the ground, so we didn't alter the elevation of the ground, you saw that in the field.
Right.
So we brought it up knowing that we were close, and with the shape of the arch, so it's not a construction mistake, it's more of having a firm understanding where the ground elevation was at the time.
It was a mistake in what?
Knowing where the ground elevation was, so that,
So it was a mistake?
yes.
Yes, there's a mistake.
Yeah.
Did you get the same number?
Through the chairman.
Well,
We'll get to you. I looked at it, and it's obvious it was a mistake. But it's obvious that, to me anyway, that it's not harmful. That I think we can go forward with it the way that it is. I don't think we need to spend any more money on it. I think they should just give us the design as it is and move forward.
Stephen's running some numbers right now to see whether it matches up or not.
no, I was just eyeballing it, and it
Yeah.
looked like it was, 50% of what the
Yeah.
original was, but it's not, it's less than that, so.
Yeah.
It's,
Eric?
The only question I had was, my concern 2 weeks ago was your level of comfort. Are you comfortable with the site visit and the explanation that was given here? Do you have any further concerns?
No, I agree with Ed at this point. However, I do think that the formal amendment request should be required, because it is a change of the plan, whether it was a
Yeah.
mistake originally or not. I think it really needs to go through that formal process, but that's just for procedures, I would say.
Right.
That's all I had.
Roy, anything?
That's good.
So are we in agreement?
You need to have a motion.
yeah, so we're going to request a formal
Amendment
yeah,
to correct to the actual.
yep.
Okay. Do I have a second on your motion?
I'd just like to hear what Glenn.
Oh,
has to
it was
say,
just that-
If you don't mind it.
I'm sorry to interject. We already started preparing, and hopefully that we could go through amendment. We have ordered the abutters list, we've typed something up, and just to say that we understood ourselves that it could be amendment from, thank you.
Right.
That's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you.
And I'll second.
You second? Any further discussion?
Is that your motion?
Go ahead.
Just for a moment. Thank you. I just want to say, yes, there was a mistake.
You're not in sales, are you?
I'm not in sales.
Because when you get the order,
Yeah.
you just take the order and walk out the door.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're good.
I'm just being wise. Go ahead.
It was a
Go ahead.
mistake, we recognize the
Yeah.
mistake, that's what
Yeah.
you're saying.
What I would like to say is that I think that the mistake specifically was that we should have shown everyone the shop drawing. That was the point at which we got off track. And so for future reference for myself, and possibly for you, I looked at this and I went, oh, we didn't share the shop drawing appropriately. Everyone should have seen the shop drawing because it's a different shape. And that was part of the problem, and that would have also brought up the issue of
The issue,
the shape of the
okay.
street. And
Yeah,
that's how
I'm sorry I was being wise. I just want, you know.
No,
just-
I just wanted to say that because
Yeah.
I think that's why we're here.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
Yep. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. All in favor? We have opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Thanks,
We
gentlemen.
appreciate your time
Yep.
again, always.
Yep.
Thank you again,
Yep.
very much.
Can they get that in without the deadline?
We'll give these to Rebecca. The replication has been done, and it was mostly planted today, and we're wrapping up tomorrow. We'll
Thank you.
formalize everything.
Yeah, I saw
with
that
the
in
board.
the-
Hydric soils within 12 inches, the whole thing, overplanted it. It's, we put more structure in, laying down trees, stumps, and rocks, and thank you through the chairman.
Great, thank
I
you.
think you're
Gentlemen,
gonna
good night.
push. Thank you.
Beck, you want to go on to Arm Road?
Yes. So this is an update, and I provided you with DCR's fact-finding report in the OneDrive. So as a reminder, this is a forest cutting plan that was approved, which is regulated for Roy's information under Department of Conservation and Recreation. So if someone files this plan, it meets their BMPs, they don't have to, they're not subject to the Wetlands Protection Act. They work with DCR. We still comment to DCR. Board of Selectmen has a forest harvesting permit, so we do comment for them, and they can provide some conditions on a project, and there's a bond associated with that as well, for erosion issues or for road impacts that might happen from logging trucks and stuff like that. So this was being regulated by DCR. I happened to go by it, and I stopped because it looked very different from when we were out there. There were some changes made. I contacted the DCR forester. He said he was aware of it. He was working with them to fix it. But what happened was there was an existing stream crossing on the site. An old cart road went in there, and they kind of just bulldozed the whole thing.
Yep, we talked about that, yep.
Yep. So the fact-finding report outlines gives a lot of pictures to you throughout time. It was pretty useful. But they pretty much said that they've kind of checked DCR's boxes, and they're all set with them. What I thought was interesting in the photographs was that the, culvert, which went missing, now reappeared, and there was, all kind of dirt dug up around it, and the DCR said they asked them and said they didn't replace it. And they weren't requiring anything beyond what they've done out there, which is seed it, and remove the material that was out there pretty much. No replanting, no one needs to go look and see, if there was any impact downstream to wetland. I think the DCR forester walked out there and eyeballed it and said it looked okay. I don't know. So I wanted to bring it to your attention because they did send us the letter because we brought it to their attention. What we had done is, I brought it to your attention, and DCR wasn't really doing much about it, so we wrote a letter to the head of the forestry program at DCR, and they held that fact-finding meeting.
Yeah.
Typically, we had the issue on Fisk Hill with another one. They brought NRCS in there to kind of look at it and provide some feedback. They didn't have to do anything on that one. It's different forester, same person who developed the plan. But part of it is, you follow the plan, you're not subject to Wetlands Protection Act. You violate your plan, and you go into a wetland, you have a violation, you know? So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Don't know if you have any thoughts or comments for DCR or,
My thoughts are, the pipe was not there when I went out. I don't know where it was. Could have been in the woods, could have been any place, could have been a new pipe, a new old pipe. But it was not there when I went out there. And they rectified the situation and walked away from it in a very minimal way. And I find it tiring that these guys don't want to do their job. So, that's all I have to say about it.
Has it been rectified in a reasonable way, or?
Yeah, the photo, you got the photos, you can take a look at it. I thought that it had been rectified in a reasonable way. It's just a question that they just walked right by it and,
Right.
you know. And it doesn't look like it's that stabilized either. You'll see it, it's got just like new loam on top. So, but look at it. It's a good thing to look at, to see the standard that our state is operating to.
From what you sent, it looks like DCR is depending upon an awful lot of windblown seed.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And not a lot of rain, because if it gets a lot of rain.
Well, the nice part about it is they spread a whole lot of windblown seed, and it gets washed away by the rain, which has come before the wind,
Yeah.
which means, no to your question, Eric, it was not done in an acceptable way,
Yeah.
But look at it.
or does not appear
Yeah.
to have been done in an
What
acceptable.
else did we get, what did we skip over, Beck?
Meat bug.
Lake Road.
yeah, I don't, maybe he's not coming in. Maybe he didn't think he needed to come back in for Lake Road
Oh, okay.
because they submitted that replanting plan.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that now or continue on and,
Are we not going to discuss Lake Road?
huh? We did, yeah, we skipped over, number 5.
Yeah. Okay.
We didn't hear from him that he was or wasn't coming in. We did say it was continued to the next meeting.
Well, I looked at the, I'll put it in a position, I looked at it, and I like what Joe came up with. The only thing I would say is that we said 3 or 4 inch, and he came back with 2.5 inch. And I'd like to make them 3 to 4 inch. 5 trees in replacement.
He's got 4 on there.
Yeah, we talked about 5 on site.
He did talk about a 5th on site. That was the one thing that jumped out at me.
Yeah.
From what he sent over.
Yeah.
Is that we could definitely.
That would be the only, you know.
On site in that little area more towards the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because I don't have the frame of reference of staring at a tree for a 10-year period of time. Joe was pretty adamant that the 2 to 2.5 inch tree in 10 years is going to be of similar size to a 3 to 4 inch tree. Becky, does that pass the sniff test to you?
I've heard arborists say that before. I don't know that that's accurate or not, but.
Is that unique to Joe, or you've heard other arborists say the same thing?
I don't
You should have
remember.
asked Tom when we was
I-
there.
Oh, yeah.
It's strange to me that wherever I see people with real wealth, they always put the big ones in, rather than put the little ones in that can beat the big ones. It's as simple as that. You know, I understand transplanting something smaller is probably safer than something larger. But if they do it right, and it's a 3 to 4 inch tree that's, you know, been moved to be moved, they can put them in, and it will start off that day providing shade, rather than in 10 years.
How tall would a 3 to 4 inch diameter tree be? Because he's saying the 2.5 is what, 10, 12 feet? I'm trying to look it up, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I can find that. I'm just curious.
I tried to research this because Joe's been saying this for years.
Yeah.
So here it says a 3-inch caliper tree can mean a tree near 14 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd
I
you
mean,
find?
my only concern is it's a huge cost. And it,
What is it for a call? I don't know that, I don't think it's huge.
I don't know how easy they're to
What
I don't
find
think
kind of
it's
trees?
size.
A 3,
Like a maple, like what are we talking?
Yeah.
yeah, 3-inch diameter maple.
That's, I mean,
I
that's.
would be
I'm not
willing
trying
to I'd be willing to compromise and say 3-inch.
Yeah.
I think, because I just don't know. I tried to research it, and I could not find any technical literature on, what Joe says over and over again, that a 2.5-inch tree is going to be the same as a 4-inch tree in 10 years. I couldn't find it, so.
Well,
If he could provide us with, and actually for future reference, I'd like to see some kind of scientific research on this particular topic, because he
Yeah.
says this every time.
I can move the topic along if you want, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we reject the application for tree removal at 194, 196 Lake Road.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
This is 3-inch. It's 40 to 60
Looks like we
feet.
found something that's a 2-inch maple is looking at $477. A 4-inch
Whoa.
is $948.
This is just whatever this website
just-
is, wherever
That's
it
much
is,
more than
but
what I
that's a,
thought.
These are different.
I don't know what kind
like
of-
Red maple.
yeah,
burgundy.
these are like, these might be
These might be
specialties.
specialty trees.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
No.
before you continue with that discussion, if we're not going to have a second, just announce we're not going to have a second, so we
Yeah,
can move.
I was looking for a second. You're right.
I'm not, I won't second that. But I'd also like to continue to discuss this.
yeah.
We don't have a second, David.
Okay. One of the things that I want to comment on, though, is Eric made a good case 2 weeks ago that our applicant did follow the correct procedure. However, we can't base our decisions on following correct procedure while ignoring the evaluation that the trees proposed for removal are healthy. The precedent would be to take out tree removal applications and then cut down trees regardless of whether they benefit the area or whether they're healthy.
So my point to that is, David, that's an interconnected tree system, right? One of those fails, the other 9 in that clump are going to start to decline, and they're going to start to decline rapidly. And at that point,
That's not the case.
we will have.
They won't decline rapidly, but they will be more vulnerable.
Okay.
They'll get more sun, so they,
My point being is that if those fail, we will have no purview or right to tell them at that point, you now need to plant something there. I believe that they are a risk to the property and a risk to the individuals there. I believe that we can do some proactive measures to avoid having nothing there in 5, 10, 15 years, which would of course be more harmful to the watershed than taking them down and replacing them with something of our choosing that can provide the canopy. So I think the overall proactive, smart move here is to, I believe we should push back at the applicant and say, we talked about 5 trees on site. You submitted us a planting plan that says 4, we're gonna reject this planting plan, or continue it until they can come back with a 5th, and it be a minimum of 2.5 inches, not give them the wiggle room of, it's really 2. But, I'm looking at trying to protect the watershed into the future, whereas if these start to fail on their own, we have no control over it.
Agreed. But one of the things that Joe suggested in his report specifically was that pruning is an option. And he gave a whole series of pruning options, and if we reject the proposal to cut the trees down, then we can go with the pruning options. And the pruning options that he put down is that all the tree canopies extend over the residences, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and therefore, they can be pruned in the higher stories. He's specifically indicating sections of the trees that can be taken down right now that will further protect the roof of the tree, the danger aspect of the tree. And remember that when we have our application for permitting this, our application is very, very specific about the reason for having an arborist come is so that the arborist will evaluate the health of the tree, so that we, as commissioners, are not going out and trying to figure out whether a tree is going to be alive or dead in a year, 2 years, or 10. An arborist does that for us. If an arborist says the tree is healthy, I don't think we have a choice but to say we have to save those trees. Because if we don't pay attention to the arborist report, why would we continue doing it? He is not supposed to say there is danger to the house or to the person. He's supposed to say there's a danger to the trees. The trees are going to fail. He didn't. He said the trees are substantially good. And we're going to ignore that arborist report despite the fact that we insisted on it.
Well,
Stephen?
again, you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not ignoring it. I am looking at this as a proactive measure to protect the watershed in what I think is the most proactive way possible, and control the process that we have control over. If those trees start to fail, we have no control, David. And that could be in 5 years, that could be in 10 years, could be in 15. And at that point, whatever we put in here for a replacement will be providing a significant canopy to the lake, and will be a healthy tree that will be providing shade for generations. So I mean, I don't disagree with you on that point, but I'm not ignoring it. I'm trying to look at the practicality of everything that is put in front of us, and what is the overall long-term game here, which I think would be more beneficial to the lake in the long term than in the immediacy.
Can we put in these provisos that says, okay, you can do the pruning, and in the event that the trees start to fail, then you have to go to the replacement and obligate the homeowner to do that?
I wouldn't be okay with that. I wouldn't be okay with rejecting the project and then holding them to a standard that if it fails on its own, where they would be not subject to us forcing them to do something. That seems
Well, I think we're
seems capricious to me.
I think it's for consideration for the pruning option, that, you know, as opposed to taking the trees out, you're giving them the option of, okay, you can prune, but if the tree fails, then you have to replace it. Otherwise, we're going to just go to the nuclear option and you have to replace it. And I don't disagree with your assessment that we could go that route, but give it the option to the homeowner.
Well, they want to replace it.
They do
Well,
not.
the arborist said we could prune.
No, he said,
Well,
yeah,
there
he
was
said
an
that's an
option.
option.
He
He
did,
said
and the
that-
but the
homeowner doesn't
homeowner
want
wants
to
no
do
part
that, I
of it.
think. It wasn't, yeah, the homeowner doesn't want to prune. I think that was stated in the first report. But I would just add, part of the arborist assessment, or at least we have another arborist that does these, he uses the actual certified arborist form, and part of the assessment they do is the level of risk with the tree. And it was explained to me by the other arborist that sometimes submits these, that they look at the level of risk. And I think that's what Joe was trying to explain his narrative too, of that concern that the homeowner has with the tree too. I mean, I think it sounds like some of you might be close to approving this, but you want to see another tree. I guess my one suggestion could be, if you're moving towards that direction, is that you can approve this with the addition of another tree with the conditions you want for the size of the trees. And then if they have an issue with that, then they can come back to the board
Yep.
to discuss.
Stephen, you go, and then I'll go.
Our tree removal
You, Steve?
permit, our tree removal permit specifically says, in situations where the health and/or risk assessment of the tree is justification for its removal.
Right.
That's why we have an arborist look at it. It's not the health of the house or the health of the persons.
Yep, I hear you.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
No, it's okay.
I cut you off.
My comments are, obviously, I'm very,
Tree-centric.
yeah, this has bothered me from day one, and especially after I read Joe's assessment and saying, these are perfectly healthy trees. And so I really have a hard time with that. I get Eric's argument, and I am willing to approve this, having the trees removed, as long as we say, minimum 2.5-inch trees, there have to be 5 of them. And I think there's also, we had asked for.
Year. Watch it for 2 years, I think you said.
Yeah, and the shrubs, do we have some shrubs along the water?
Yeah.
Looks like they're on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go to, it's got to be, from my point of view, it's got to be 2.5 and 5.
We just say 2.5 minimum and.
And 5, and I would approve it there and tell them to go for it. I agree with Eric.
With the shrubs too.
Yeah.
So, I did add in here too, we don't usually say when they have to do the replacements, and I think we should, and I saw that
Yeah.
in other towns. And then, I had put replacements to be planted immediately after removal if completed during growing season and must survive for 2 growing seasons. We're still in growing season, but if we get towards the end, I didn't really add something in here, like, within so many months of the beginning of the growing season, the next year, or 6 months, just so we can make sure we don't usually require a time frame, and that's important.
Yep.
In the monitoring.
For trees of this size, is 2 years enough? Should we add a 3rd or a 4th year?
I would
For
agree.
trees of that, given the importance
Yeah.
of these trees to the wetland.
Yep.
Yeah.
Survive for 3 growing seasons?
Yep.
Well, whatever's appropriate for the size of the tree. I mean, there's a
I think
difference between putting in the shrubs, where after a couple of years, you know whether or not it's thriving or not.
Yeah.
But, I don't know that we can judge that after 2 years of a tree of that substance.
Becky, in your research of other towns, is there any provision in there for a
A lot
number
of
of
them are
years?
2 growing seasons.
2?
Yep.
I think it would be beneficial to add a 3rd year, just.
Survive 3 growing seasons for
Yeah.
everything? Just say everything, so it's
Yep.
easy?
Yeah.
And do you want a condition to be planted within a certain time period?
Yeah,
of
we all
removal?
nodded our head yes when you said that.
Okay. Do you want it, as I wrote here, planted immediately after removal, or within a month?
Yeah, it's got to be done in conjunction with the
In conjunction?
removal.
Well, are you guys talking about stumping too?
Well, they have to, they have no room.
Yeah, and we
They're gonna put these
can
in.
work with them on that. Obviously,
Yeah.
we'll meet with the contractor before they do anything.
Brooks appears to me to be in good faith, so I think,
I agree.
and he takes care of, my feeling on the trees is that they're totally healthy.
Right.
And they're pretty well pruned. But they are, getting taller, and one of them's gonna snap. And when it does, it's gonna come down with gonna take stuff with it, and it's just gonna be a mess. I don't think it's gonna, well, that's my opinion.
It's
I've seen it.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that probably the most vulnerable tree is the one that's right in front of the house, between the house and the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
single one.
And in order to take that out, they're gonna have to take the other ones out. so.
Yeah. All right, so
Okay.
we have consensus, all in favor of, well, basically it's Eric's motion with Becky's
Yeah.
adds to it.
Vicky can't make a motion. We have to have one of the guys make the
I
motion.
made a motion to approve the project contingent upon adding a 5th minimum, and all trees need to be minimum circumference or minimum diameter. of
DBH.
2.5, yeah.
Of 2.5 inches, and that we add the 3rd growing season as a
Yeah.
condition.
And
Planting is done in conjunction with the removal I'll have some conditions in there for the contractor to contact prior to the start of
Somebody wanna
work.
second that?
For stumping.
I'll second that.
Roy seconds it. Any further discussion, all in favor?
Discussion first?
I said any further discussion?
Well, you didn't give a chance for anybody to discuss.
Well, God almighty.
Becky, could you make sure that when you do this and you put the numbers down, you indicate DBH,
Yep.
not circumference?
Yep.
Because they'll give you circumference down at the base of the trunk, which is far wider than at DBH. DBH is diameter of breast height. For those of you who are now in charge of forestry.
I'm taking notes.
Well, you could do DBK height,
What?
knee height.
That was mean.
All right, any further discussion, all in favor? And you're, okay. And Barnacle abstains, or do you want?
No, negative.
Opposed.
Negative?
4-1.
Opposed, okay. Proposal. And where do we go from here? I think that was it, wasn't
Is
it?
that me?
Well,
I'm up.
no, it says meet the advisory
Oh,
opinion.
oh, yeah. Forgot about that one.
Oh, I wasn't gonna let, because it didn't make it to the detailed agenda. It got dropped off of the detailed agenda.
I ran out of time.
Ah, okay.
Because I got the Picker Road stuff last minute on Friday, an appointment I had to get out of here, so I ran out of time at 12:30.
We also are going to talk about trails for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yep. David, you want to talk about trails?
Well, the new thing that Becky is going to hand out to people is you'll see a lot of advertising relative to the 5K that the Rotary Club is sponsoring. And some of the advertising is indicating that they have sponsors. And to run the 5K, both the junior 5K and the senior 5K, they are charging some amount of money, I forget, $15 or something like that. It is earmarked as being a fundraiser for scholarship money for the Rotary Club. Now, the Rotary Club has for years and years and years given scholarship money. So evidently, this is a way to refill the pot. The question for the care, custody, and control people of these trails is it acceptable to run a for-profit operation on the trails? And then, of course, you get into the question about whether you can consider the Rotary Club running a scholarship refilling fund as being a for-profit operation. But it's something that you have to consider, because you do have custody of the trails. And if you don't think about it carefully, you could have all manner of things take place on the trails without even knowing about it. This plan, according to someone that I talked to on the Rotary, has been going on now for almost 3 months, and yet it didn't come to the Trails' attention until about a month ago when they talked to the chairman of the Trails Committee.
Well, we have a procedure for it. I think the only question you bring up is
Nobody knows what the procedure is, Ed.
the form.
If I didn't bring the form up to people's attention, nobody would fill out the bloody form.
Well, that's what we have to push them. But your second part of that is if you're going to have any kind of road races, bikes, 1 foot, whatever it is, you are going to have sponsors. And they are going to be, it's going to be for breast cancer or whatever it's going to be. And the Rotary, I feel what they're doing falls right into that category. They're just
I do too.
doing goodwill, and and we should allow it.
You just want to make certain that you understand that there are some parameters about which we might want to put some brakes on. Not this one.
Yeah, but there may very well be. But that should be, we do have a form, it is in place, we have to make sure people use it, including chairman of the Trails Committee.
Well, he delegated. That's fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And the other thing I'd say to that is, it's a revenue generating thing, but it's not a for-profit thing. These are all 501c3 organizations.
Oh,
So,
yes.
I would imagine. So if they're 501c3 or what, the other nonprofit recognized by the IRS organizations, I don't know that that's as much of a concern. than having a 508 International running on Tough Mudder out there.
Right. Yep. Wow, that puts a topic on it, doesn't it?
So I shouldn't have signed that one?
Shouldn't have signed that.
No, okay. All right,
That goes along with the possibility that we have in our form for that item that came up, a note. And in the note, it says motorized vehicles are not permitted on any of the trails. And yet twice I brought up the fact that motorized vehicles are using the trails, and the Conservation Commission doesn't want to talk about it. We had Tom Chamberlain come in and talk about a giant wheel that had a skateboard attached to it, and it's motorized. It's run by electricity. We have e-bikes that are using the trails. A souped-up e-bike will go 28 miles per hour. It's not just being used by people who want to climb a hill that they can't walk anymore like me. Instead, what they're doing is the speed racing.
yeah.
And of course, everything comes down to the fact that all of this is voluntary on our trails. Who in the world is going to oversee it if we start trying to crack down on motorized vehicles? But it does say in that permit that you've got in your hands, specifically, motorized vehicles are not permitted on our trails.
We don't have any choice on that because it's in our conservation restrictions.
And I think maybe if we check
It's
the
in there.
signage we have out at the kiosk, I'm sure there's, I know there's rules out there, maybe they need to be
Yep.
updated, maybe we need to have some additional signs
Yep.
at the kiosks that just, just point out no motorized vehicles permitted. You know,
But for example, on that form, even though it was during my administration that we started using that form, one of the things that we don't ask is if it's going to be on lead mine, has anybody contacted Fish and Game? The Fish and Wildlife people own 50% of that
Yeah.
property. And we're going to have to let them know that there's this kind of activity taking place.
Yeah, I think anytime these things come in on the properties, some of them, like Hamilton Rod and Gun Club, they know just to send it to Opacum, but we make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And
Also, I made
this-
a note on this application.
Too.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that when we send that to the police, because there's going to be about 75 cars maybe,
Yeah.
that the police take note of the fact that the parking is not going to be at lead mine. The parking's going to be at the OSB Ed Center, which is on OSB Road. So it's probably 300 yards down from the entrance to the trail.
Okay.
I don't want them getting confused.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Dave. I think maybe what we need to do is, as each of these come forward, we have to, at the end of our meetings, go over the application and discuss the ramifications of it, until we learn it.
Good point.
Because at some point in time, they're gonna have all these little motorized, no question about it.
Well, our police department just publicized on their Facebook page that they were using their new e-bike to patrol the trails.
They'll be going on e-bikes to chase e-bikes.
Check for e-bikes, you know what they look like.
Well, yeah, I saw that last week, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, I guess it's better than bringing their four-wheeler out there, right?
Better than the four-wheeler,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, beyond trails, next, anything?
Well, so we got a letter back from our MEPA request regarding 508 International and what's going on. Stephen, I don't know if you want to recuse yourself. On
Yeah,
this.
Mr. Chair, I'm recused from this discussion.
And they basically have, once again, done this
Yeah.
and absolved themselves. My feeling is, if you go back to their original determination, they lined out very specifically that if there was going to be any altercation beyond the 22 acres that they have submitted, that they should go to MEPA for review. Now, it didn't say have to. I looked for harder language in there. However, it was not in there. But we very clearly got them on the record to admitting that they have altered in excess of 25 acres of this
Yeah.
property. I think at this point, and I know we were trying to not step on anybody's toes, but Representative Smola has recommended in previous times, setting up a listening session to discuss this project and discuss this issue, so we can get all the appropriate people, Senator Goby, and any commissioners, to listen in on what our concerns are. I think we have to go to the higher political option at this point, because clearly whomever does not want to deal with this, and whether it's COVID related and they're just oversaturated with things that they have to deal with and they don't have the bandwidth to take care of it, but it's pretty clear to me that they issued a letter in 2016 that said that 508 needed to go to them for any alterations beyond 25, or should go back to them for any alterations beyond 25. We have documented for MIPA that they have, by their own words, altered more than 25 acres. If they don't want to listen to us at this point, our only remedy is to go to the political option. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about, responding to the letter that, or responding to the email that MIPA sent, and whether or not it's appropriate to send them back their original determination where it said they should, and here is their admission that it's over that 25, just to once again encourage, but also start the process of getting our representatives involved, because I think Todd and I think Ann need to be involved in this process. So that's...
Becky?
I was just going to add, so I just went back and looked at the last letter that we sent to close out, to work to rectify the enforcement order for the Podunk Pike properties. That was issued in July. We had his consultant's letter, his plan from his engineer showing that they would do that wetland restoration. He was on the line, said he didn't want to do the wetland restoration, but we issued it saying we approve that plan, do it within 2 months. Well, they haven't notified us. I need to follow up, and I was going to send them a letter saying, following up on this letter, we're not aware that you've initiated this work, please provide us with an update. So they still have, I don't think they've completed this, over 3,000 square feet of unpermitted wetland alteration out there that they haven't resolved either. So that's also a additional.
You should send that note to them.
No, yeah, I need to do that. But that's also additional, hey, trying to work with them to resolve this. This is another thing, this is not.
Yeah, I mean, if they are just asking for us to go away, and I am not somebody who deals well with that, and I don't think that we should, because I think that the impacts that are out there on that property, mostly in Charlton, but the overall impacts that have ripple effects into Sturbridge are of the escalating value that we need to get as many people involved to listen to what our concerns are. And I also say that with the understanding that Ann Goby represents people in Charlton as well, so she may feel some conflicts there, but the reality is she represents us here in Sturbridge, and we need to make sure that she is aware of what our concerns are, and if that listening session is the appropriate way of going about that, maybe we want to talk to Todd again and see if that's still his recommendation at this point. But we need to get some political clout behind us to help, because if the bureaucrats aren't going to do it, maybe the politicians will.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that's a good idea. The question that I'd have of the audience, Stephen, you in the audience? You in the audience?
Yeah, not as a member of the commission, but.
Yeah. What's happened up in your neighborhood? Anything going on?
Every Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
You want to sit out here?
All right, forget it. Let me summarize it, because I don't have to recuse myself. Every Saturday and Sunday, when events are taking place, like this past Saturday and Sunday, the rumble noise does not go away from roughly 10 to 10, which is what their operating hours are supposed to be. 2 weeks ago, Saturday, they had a Jeep festival at the facility. Not necessarily bad, but I suspect that they were using some of the Jeep roads that you all had walked on and said they hadn't been used in years. But let me add to that the fact that that night, the Saturday night, they had what they called an overnight parking session. Now, we have no public transit that I know of in either Sturbridge or Charlton that would take anybody from Brookfield Road to any hotel. And since there are none in Charlton, they must have been taking them to hotels in Sturbridge so that they could leave their cars there? No, that was simply an anachronism for a camping night. However, they got no permit for camping. However, they have no potable water, no drinking water. And they have to bring in porta potties in order to be able to do this stuff. And to Eric's point, the original thing that MIPA had looked at was their plan showed 22 acres of coverage. MIPA said give them 25. If they go over 25, we have to hear from them again. No one since 2016 has taken a site visit on that property. No one knows the length and breadth of destruction that has taken place on that property, and DCR, with their cutting programs, even has not seen the entire property as it stands today. I really believe that, along with having the open discussion, we should encourage some of our Pauls to take a trip in an RTV around the entire site, not taken care of by Mr. Jennings and his appointed people, but go on the site, see if it's still 25 acres. Because from looking at,
How do we get the right to do that?
well, the politicians would ask for permission. The landowner might refuse the politicians, but I think that that might stir up the mud quite a bit, which is exactly what Eric is indicating we want to do. We want to ask questions so that some answers are forthcoming. At the present time, we get no answers. We get stonewalled.
Is Todd representing Charlton?
I don't think so. I think he only represents a section of Sturbridge.
Yeah.
But clearly, Angobi represents us both. And Angobi is in charge of the Environment Committee in Boston.
I mean, I don't know what the procedure is to do it.
Yeah.
But I know that they are basically sitting back and laughing at us because we are trying to do things in the proper and reasonable way, which is what we are charged with doing.
Yeah.
But the reality is bringing political clout is what we
Yep.
have right now.
This is truly the definition of a clawless tiger. You can make all kinds of roaring noises, but it doesn't do a bit of good.
Well, you can go out at night and scare the heck out of everybody, though. That's, so why don't we, put together a letter to Todd Smoller?
And Angobi.
Yeah, you can.
You wouldn't want to,
What's on the line? What was all that? I don't know.
That was me. I bumped my microphone,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
That'd be really something if Barnacle was on the other end.
Whoa.
Then we'd know we had a problem. All right?
okay,
We can put something together, see what we have.
okay. Anyone
along the line of those
want me
two-
to send it to,
What?
help work on it, add their language in,
Yeah. Go, send it around.
takers?
We'll add our two bits.
I
Okay,
mean, Polito's from the area too. I don't know that it's a terrible idea not a terrible idea to, you know, think objectively, but every politician I know that has any connections to central Massachusetts and utilize that. I don't think that Baker's office is gonna ring in on it, but Polito might, because she's from Shrewsbury and has ties to central Massachusetts. And obviously has political aspirations, so might want to curry some favor with us. I don't know, but just a thought.
Yeah.
so as far as MIPA, they had asked do we still want an advisory ruling in writing from them on this? If so, they can issue one for us.
Well, no, because we're not going to agree with what their language that they're going to send out at this point. I think we need to, if they basically said that they're not going to say anything other than we're not going to get
No, I know.
involved, we certainly don't want to encourage.
Right,
I owe them a reply, so I want to know what you want me
Yeah.
to write to them.
Well, I'd say very disappointed in your position. No. Toothless tiger, right?
We did send them, in our original request, their original advisory opinion in 2016,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
And we clearly said that you
Yes, this is-
requested. So,
yes.
I mean, obviously, we've done what we can, so, yeah, I mean, I think that's, no, we don't want you to respond, but we're incredibly disappointed, and we will look for other remedies.
And we also ought to send that same document to both the senator and the representative so that they see that this is long-standing, that in fact we have asked MEPA before, and look what we got. They kicked the can down the road one more time.
Yeah.
And I'll send them a letter following up on the status of that for their enforcement order and ask them to reply by a certain time.
You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
we look at
Pass it around to everybody.
We look at overhead shots that are taken by global, what's it called?
Oh, Google Maps?
Google Maps.
Yeah.
We look at close-ups of it and go back to 2016 and look at the same close-ups. There is no comparison for tree cover alone. You can see the gigantic gaps, which are far more than 22 acres or 25 acres.
Probably somewhere between 75 and 100 acres of altered space, but, you know, I don't have them on the record saying that, but we have them on the record saying 25 acres.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, that should be enough,
It should be enough.
you know.
To get in and then start smashing around.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
The point is to gain access to the property and get this fixed.
Yeah, but the politicians ought to be able to do that.
Right. We've played nice, we've gone through the proper procedures, they don't want to listen, now we have to ratchet up pressure. So,
Okay. Becky, anything else before 8 o'clock?
Yes, a couple things.
Just saying.
I didn't know what you were pointing at.
14. We're at
Yep.
14.
So just wanted to go over, just tell you what the new applications are coming up for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And go over the site visits that we'll go to, next week. And then I have one request, in for an emergency authorization. I'll bring that up in a second too. So, new applications for the next meeting. 91 Clark Road is back. There's a new person who's bought the property, I guess. This is the one where we had the builder, we had the wetland line issue down by the road, and the project, it was denied because they didn't submit the additional information. It is now back. Scott Morrison is the representative on that one again. Didn't know if you want to go back out there and look at that. In his application, he did note that he went back out and did some additional augering. He didn't change his wetland line, no limit of work change or anything. So
We have a filed plan?
Yep,
It's the exact
it's the same
same.
one we had before, yeah.
Same plan we had before?
Yep,
Same position of the house?
Yep.
everything, yep.
DEP actually already issued a file number for that
All
one.
right, well, I think, have to take a look at the plan. Probably, yeah, we probably should put it on a site visit.
Okay, do you want to do that before the meeting, or,
We can do it after.
okay,
We can look at it and then tell them we'll go look at it, you know?
okay.
Because we know we've had about 12 inches of rain since the last time you guys have been out there looking at the land.
Well, it's
Yeah.
early spring, right. Yeah, it's up to you. We can go before or go after, so that.
Well, what else do we have?
So we have a new notice of intent for 22 Birch Street. This is a failing stone and mortar, I believe, lakeshore retaining wall on Cedar Lake. We've been to this Birch Street before, this address, for different things. It's a plan to rebuild, I mean, I haven't looked at it, but it's through Landscape Evolution, so I'm
Okay, yeah.
assuming it's some type of wall like we've been
Boulder-
seeing,
yeah.
boulder wall.
Boulder shoreline.
We have two continuations. We're gonna have the Woodlawn continued then, We are gonna have which we'll do the site visit, on Tuesday. I'd like to do that on Tuesday because I'll go out there on Thursday if possible.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 100 Paradise continued. We don't need to go back out there for a site visit. And then we have the ANRAD for 16 Cross Street and 180 Breakneck Road, which is the Aquarian and Agriculture. Equestrian, yeah, Aquarian.
Kind of.
Center, so that's on the next meeting agenda. Their consultant, I've been talking to them. He is not available the week that we do our normal site visits. He'll be in New Hampshire. So he's offered a couple dates that he can be available to bring us on the sites, which would be either the end of this week or the 18th or 19th. The 19th is actually the Tuesday of the meeting. The 18th is the Monday before that. He can do this Thursday the 7th or Friday the 8th. I'm not available on the 8th. It's not available next week.
I can't do this week, but.
Yeah, I think this,
How about the 18th?
Yeah, I can make that work.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I have the same. I can't do it this week, but I can possibly do it the 18th.
18th.
All right, the 18th it is.
okay. All right, and do you want to do the normal 9 o'clock time?
9 o'clock, yeah.
Meet and we'll meet him over there, maybe at the landfill or something?
Move them over where?
I don't know, but wherever we can go in the site. Oh, the one thing though, and I've asked them,
Oh, wait a minute, yeah.
yeah, so on the ANRAD application, the applicant is not the property owner. There's two property owners. We require property owner signature on these forms, all of them.
Yeah.
And I brought that to their attention. There was an attorney's signature on an attachment in there. But it was the attorney for the applicant that signed it on the property owner's behalf. So I inquired about that, and I was informed that as part of the purchase and sale, they gave the applicant's attorney the right to sign these things. They did ask for proof of that for this, or signatures on the ANRAD form. And I did talk to town council about that, just because we need to have property owner permission, and we do need to have property owner permission to go on site. So we do need that before we go on.
We need to make sure it's proper. It's proper.
Yep.
And what's the address on this again, please?
16 Cross Street, 100 Breakneck,
180.
180 Breakneck Road.
So, it's two parcels, two of the three that are part of the zoning change.
And what is the story on the third?
I don't know.
We're
I was-
rezoning a piece that they're going to use for something else?
I was told when I met with them previously, they had a plan to show them where their wetland lines were before they filed anything. And they said that, I asked about that because it wasn't on there. In my original understanding, it was the two lower Breakneck Road parcels. They said that they're still considering that parcel and they might put a well on there. They're not sure at this time. And I did hear that was presented to the planning board too, something similar. So I don't know, nothing on the concept plan is shown on that parcel.
That's only 80 acres.
Yeah, that's entirely mapped as priority.
And it's a total separate buy.
It's a different property owner is my
Yeah,
understanding, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I will set that site visit up. I will make sure that we have permission.
Yeah, and everything that they can give us if they're going to,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. So for this coming Tuesday, we will go to Birch Street. And the one other thing I have is 102 South Shore Drive. I had a call from a new property owner out there. It's actually been almost like a month and a half now. He bought this parcel. We've been out there because they had some tree removal before. All the drainage from that section of South Shore Drive goes into a catch basin and it's discharged on his property. I think when we were out there for tree removal, we noticed the swale and we're like, oh, you should add some riprap to that swale. Well, further in the woods, between the lake and the woods, is a huge ravine that's all eroded from water coming out of there. That's all ended up in the lake. So this new property owner wants to fix it. He had called me. I actually went out there while it was a downpour. It was really bad. It was at least like 10 feet deep in some
So
sections.
take a look at it, site visit.
Yeah, want to add that on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll add that on Tuesday. They would-
Barnacle's been there many times.
Emergency approval for that. All right, so we'll just have two site visits, if you want to wait on the 91 Clark on Tuesday, or go there as your,
Yeah, I think we should take a look at it.
you want to go there this Tuesday?
Yeah, see what it looks like. Is it marked?
Well, the flag should still be up. I'll make, well.
Yeah,
I'll
but they
make sure
cited the
all of
house,
them-
right?
Should be. I'll double check on that. I think we had it staked.
Scott Morrison, so, you know, you should,
This thing was marked when we.
Yeah, it was staked when we went out there before, but, oh, and.
yeah, but they moved them.
So
There was a change.
this project, we shut down because they never provided us the additional information we're asking. Have they, I know they're submitting it again, but does it make any sense for us to go back and look at this project if they haven't provided us the information that we requested back then? I don't know that I want to waste my time going out there if they haven't made the good faith effort to provide what we asked for them 6 months ago.
Yeah, well,
I don't remember it that way. I remember them pulling it.
well, we denied it. They didn't pull it. They didn't wanna, they wanted you to vote on what you had in front of them, and we said it was,
Oh, so we denied it?
yeah, that's how it worked. I
Okay,
think-
right.
But we wanted more information.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm just one person.
I think he said he went back out there and relooked at it, but I don't think anything changed, so I didn't go through the whole application yet. Just
Yeah,
haven't
I
had the
looked over the
opportunity.
application, it showed that he addressed, he addressed the areas that the commission had concerns with, but he didn't move it. The entire project is identical to the first project.
So
The house-
he says he
the house
addressed it, but he
footprints
didn't address
Are
it?
the same, the wetland flags
Looked at
are all
it.
the same. He dug some holes, he looked around, he just said, everything's good.
Well, if he wants to waste our time, I say that we waste his and have him come to us first. And
Okay.
we'll schedule it. But I just don't. I mean,
That's a good idea.
That's fine by me.
I'm good with that.
All right, so we'll have 3 then, because we'll have to go
Yeah.
out to the wood lawn
Yeah,
and look at that
okay,
if it's
yeah.
ready. All right?
Yep.
And I'll send an email out. I sent them out on Friday with the list. So let me know if you can make it or not. We'll meet behind Town Hall, and I'll wait this time. Sorry.
That's no problem.
Right.
I think it's that time.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Old business, before you go,
Okay.
can we have an update on the court case?
We shouldn't talk about it in an open session, but I just say that we're making progress to get to file something.
Okay. Yep.
Should be soon.
And last but not least, one new item, because nobody said anything about new business. If the chairman is remote, let's say the chairman is in someplace other than Massachusetts for the meeting, and the rest of us are here,
Are you stealing my idea?
would it not be a good idea for, well, you're not going to make the motion. Would it not be a good idea to make certain that the vice chair becomes the chair and the chairman merely a voter? Because that way, the vice chair or the person present in this building or present at the meeting will be able to see the participants as they come in, and will be able to see the necessary body language of the people here in order to conduct the meeting. And the chair could cast his vote from the remote position. I'm just casting it out there.
I think it's a really good idea.
I second that motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it anyway, but we should make it a formal thing. Because if I'm in somewhere on the beach and I can have Stephen run the meeting, I'm gonna.
I was worried about where you were going.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the implications of what I'm seconding here.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Now, the motion doesn't say anything about hiding the cooler before we put him on the beach, right?
I have to have something to sit on.
Yeah.
Are we voting now, gentlemen?
Yes,
Okay.
it's time, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
No, I
Need
need
a
a
motion.
vote. I need a vote on that motion.
Oh, on that.
Yeah.
motion.
I'll second the motion.
Oh, I already had Steven say.
where do we put
And
it?
then I'm saying yes.
Where do we put it as a
All in
motion? Where do
favor?
we put it in our I'm in favor.
I'm just putting it under new business.
Okay.
I don't think we have to have it anywhere
Yeah,
formally.
just so that we all know it.
You know,
Last night's meeting was,
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A second. It was way too quick.
All right.
Fantastic.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Good job, Becky.
Aaron? Excellent.